GlobeTax is a pure offering service provider that helps investors and financial institutions manage around cross-border withholding tax. And typically what we're doing is not within the US market in terms of US withholding, which has a very different model, but across the globe. You can start with a couple of principles in terms of thinking about where most of our work occurs. As countries and governments develop, those governments typically will have more obligations to provide funding for infrastructure, social programs, safety nets, education, etc. And so you can look across, say, Western Europe and some of the more developed markets in the Pacific. And that's typically where we're doing our work, because those markets will typically have a few different features. One, they'll have higher withholding tax rates on cross-border dividends, but they also have more developed capital markets and larger capital markets, so more securities that people are buying. You also have, in a mature market, more cross-border bilateral relationships, the double taxation treaties. You find that the larger economic powers will have, over time, put more of those in place. And so most of our work is done, say, across the OECD markets, a lot of Western Europe, Canada, and a handful of the larger Asian markets, Japan, and so forth. But as Bill talked about before, there are differences in terms of how those markets will then govern the withholding tax process. Some offer a relief at source process, which, if you can facilitate it and if you can achieve all of the requirements that the custodian in the local market requires, then that's a much better outcome for everyone. The investor is getting their money up front at the time of the dividend payment, as opposed to having to go back and file paperwork to get the claim. The ethos of the firm is really to try to connect investors with their legal entitlements as much as we possibly can. And we try to structure our agreements in such a way that we are paid for success.